Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
All right, Mr. Shawn, just you and me, kid.
All right. Back we've done this before.
Yeah, we did it all last year before. And Mr. Jared is under the weather last week. Well, when we get to last week's picks, you'll see he got – well, there's a band out there. I think they're called Five Finger Death Punch. Have you heard of them?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so I think Jared had the Five Finger Nut Punch last week.
I mean, honestly, it might be the 10 finger. I mean, as many fingers as you
double
can.
fisted.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed he did. So he had a tough week. So it gave him. Well, he's not feeling very well today. He's a little under the weather. So we give him a little bit of a hard time. But I think he went on full tilt this week trying to get back into the results there, Shawn.
Yeah, I tried to help him out last night. Put the wrong post on social, but that was actually the winning post. He had the wrong one.
Yes, well, I saw that, and you're right. You did try to help him, but unfortunately, he texted me about 10 times and said, I'm on the over. And I'm like, well, you got the over. Then I looked on Twitter, and it was like the under. And I'm like, well, Shawn, you got to kind of correct the record there. So hopefully you accidentally bet the under in Jared's name, and then he gets the double-fisted left-right 1-2.
But it proves again that we do everything, everything that we mean to do is what we put out there. And if we put something out by mistake, we correct it, even if it's to our benefit.
Or against our benefit.
And yeah, right.
Case, yes, indeed. Or at least Jared's. It would have been mine. I would have let it go. All right, well, let's get down to the we're going to, where's it good? The good, the bad, the ugly. So I guess let's start with the ugly, the really ugly. Jared last week. Ooh, and we're not talking about like on the screen. We're just talking about his picks, Shawn.
Okay.
So last week, Jared, right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losses, 2 wins, and 4 digits. He had a comma week of losses. Not comical, but a comma.
Yeah, and some of these picks, the 4, I think you had the Falcons. I had the Commanders giving up 2.5. He puts 4 units on the money line. Like, I think a lot of whatever he went with, the ones that we went with, he just, completely jinxed us like we completely talk about. So hopefully he didn't do that this week to either one of us.
I think you and he are on the side, on the same side of a few. So you're over here. Last week, you had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 4 week, but you managed to get both of your 2s right. So in that regard, that helped you out a lot. Put you up $288 for the week and 83.
That was the first time that actually benefited me doing the right units this time. Also, doing the rule break that you hate, doing the under and the Commanders. If I was only going to do one, it would have been the Commanders -2. It was a last-minute decision to go with the under, which if you had the under 40.5, you sweated that all the way to the end because there was no way you thought that game would end in a tie. And there it is.
That's about as lucky a break I've seen anybody get this year.
Yeah.
For sure. There's no points in the game. Well, that goes that way sometimes. Well, no matter what it is, no matter how you get there, it only ends up in one column, a win or a loss, sometimes in a push. But in that case, when there's a hook, no push is allowed. All right. Then for me, I started out the week with the win on that parlay in the game with the Bills and the Patriots. I did get that late touchdown from Singletary, so it put me up 245. The Seahawks and the Rams went over. Then I missed out on the Jaguars and the Falcons, although the Falcons – dumb penalties at the end of the game, probably cost them a chance to actually pull that one out. Much like the Raiders last night, dumb penalties keeping the Rams alive, and then of course Baker goes 92 in a minute and change without timeout.
Yeah, and I was wrong on that. I said prevent defense. They were actually doing the opposite. They were playing man defense and pushed, jamming the receiver. That's why the receiver got over the top. 1-on-1, trying to press coverage the receiver. It didn't make much sense. Easiest throw to make for a quarterback that hasn't had the playbook is the go route. I mean, that's playground football, and that's what Mayfield likes to play. So, that's a problem. Going back, and I should have caught this before the show, but actually, did you mark Jared's Washington morning line wrong?
Washington, the Commanders.
Yeah, my -2 would technically be wrong. Would definitely be wrong, but his morning line would technically not be wrong because it wasn't a 3-way bet. It would be a refund.
So it's not. It's a refund. All right. So we'll have to correct that one out of there with Jared. Yes, I marked it as a loss because it's not a win.
It's not a win, but any money line bets, unless if you do the 3-way line, which if you did a 3-way line, then it would be a little bit better, not much. Then you would have lost. But since that's just straight up money line, he actually gets that money back. So that helps him $400.
Oh yeah. So we'll correct that then. So let me correct that now. So this is a push. So I can. This is the great thing about this is all automated. So Jared always says we're trying to give him the short end of the stick. So we'll take that out from him. Bang. So now we're going to put that at 0. And boom, voila, he's down 626. How about that?
Yeah, hey, almost half of it coming back.
So he owes you a big one, Shawn. He owes you $500 right about now. So that changes our year-to-date totals right here. So week number 12, and this is a little bit bloated. Let me bring this back down to a viewable size. So for week number 13 now, because that automatically corrected in there because one sheet's connected to the other, he's down 626. So Jared's down $1,188 for the year. Shawn, with your gain of 288, you cut your loss just about in half. You're at minus 281. And I'm up $571 for the year. So as a team, we're down 897. Thank you, Jared.
Yeah, Jared and I both wish week 11 and week 12 didn't happen. If we could wipe those 2 weeks out, we'd be okay.
I think Jared kind of wishes the last 4 weeks did.
Well, yeah, he did, but I'm just saying, as a team together, we could just get rid of 2 of those weeks. I mean, that's almost $2,000 right there, week 11 and week 12 that we were down together. Mm-hmm. So, but,
yeah, I think Jared's been down for a month in a row, so he's due.
Oh, yeah, he was up 1,500 up till that point.
I think he was up over $2,000 at one time.
Well, close to it, yeah. And so then just put it all back and then trying to go the other way.
Yes. 10 fingers, not 5. Yeah. That death punch for certain. All right, well, that takes us through where we've been so far, where we are, and now let's go to what we're going to do. So let's talk about this week's picks. So Jared, we'll start with Jared since Jared's not here. He went with it. You did try to correct him last night. You tried to help him out, but he went with the over in that game, ended up getting beat. So the game did not go over. And now this week, Jared is going to go the under in the Chiefs and the Broncos. He's going to put 40 units on it. So like I said, he's on tilt this week. Everything's 3-4, 5-2. So we'll see if it all works out. But the Chiefs and the Broncos under 44, probably expecting the Broncos to go scoreless.
Yeah, well, and the Broncos only had one game, and it was against the Raiders where they went over the total. They're like 1-12 or whatever against that total. So that makes perfect sense. My problem was, and I looked at this game and I wanted to do it because, I like stats like that. They just continue to repeat themselves, is with the Chiefs offense, they could put up pretty much all that themselves. So that's where I
don't think they can put 44 on the Broncos defense. The one thing the Broncos do play is defense.
Yes, and that's true. But I was just afraid of a 35-10 game, which then you lose. So how much can you limit Kansas City's offense to? Because Denver will find some.
A lot
points.
of teams have been kind of limiting their offense. Cincinnati limited their offense last week. I think people have. I think people are thinking about the past couple of years Chiefs offense. It's clearly not as big as powerful as it has been before.
It's not as explosive.
It's a middle of the road off. It's not as explosive as it used to be. There's not as many big plays. Teams have umbrellaed them, and they kind of have to matriculate their way down the field instead of these big scoring plays. The Marquez Valdes-Scantling hasn't proven to be the big play touchdown guy that they probably hoped he would be and replace that kind of Tyreek Hill role.
Yeah, but I do agree with this play. This would have been the one that I didn't quite get in there. I passed on and I figured I had enough plays, but it makes sense.
So off to the money line. Jared is going to go with the Ravens and the Steelers. He's going to take the Steelers minus 125. I guess everybody must currently believe that our man Pickett is now the absolute best quarterback in the history of the league. In fact, they must think he's better than Hundley because Jared, you're on the Steelers minus 2 for 1 unit. Jared is on the Steelers over here for the money line. And I'm on the Ravens. I'm sorry. The Ravens are still the better team. Hundley's a better quarterback than Pickett is. And when Hundley played last year, the last time he played, he was putting up tons of stats. I think with a week under center with the opportunity to play with the first team, he'll be at least as effective as Lamar Jackson's been of late.
Well, see, and that's where my concern is. I know what you're saying about last year. He didn't look like a bad quarterback. He got in last week, and I know he was the backup, so it's going to be totally different. But they were very limited with him. They were not moving the ball. I'm surprised they snuck the game out.
They started to move the ball at the end. Things started to click, and they got the score when they needed it. And they clearly, I think, I really think you're going to see Pickett under pressure. And if there's an over-under, what's the over-under on him? He's going to throw a pick or two this week.
you really want to go with Pickett with these picks, and he keeps proving you wrong with that. I'll look that up. But, this to me, once Pittsburgh was under a field goal favorite, I jumped all over it. I watched this offense last week with Baltimore, and it's been like that with Jackson, too. I mean, Jackson's so explosive, and they're not putting up the points. So they're another one. They're just struggling offensively altogether. Now you put the backup in. Steelers' defense has been playing good, and what you're trying to do with Pickett, he hasn't been doing, and now I know it all goes back to the means, and eventually one of these weeks he'll look like a rookie again. But right now they're playing really good football.
I don't think they're playing very good football.
Well, they're playing defense.
Who do they beat?
Oh,
They beat the Colts. Yay. The Cowboys just put 54 on the Colts, and they scored, 18?
Well, now that Cowboys game, it was a blowout, but for 2.5 quarters, that was a game.
Well, they
for 2.5 quarters.
Sean. They don't play for 2.5 quarters.
They do. I got nothing.
That's why there's 4 games.
They don't have anything listed right now for anything besides the over-under and the spread for the Pittsburgh-Baltimore game.
Yeah, I think the Ravens win this game. They're the better team. I think player for player, I think Najee Harris in that offense is going to struggle to run the ball. If you can't run the ball effectively, now you're going to put the pressure on the kid to make plays in a tight game against a much better defense. And I'd expect that you're going to see the Ravens. Hundley will move the ball better than he did last week. I know the Steelers' defense has been playing well. The offense has been all right. It's been poor. Let's be honest. Their offense has not been that good. Steelers' offense. Now they're running up against the best defense they've seen in this streak that they're winning. It comes to an end this week. And I'll take the Ravens. The better team, and I'm getting Sean's internet is kind of going in and out.
Yeah, and it says strong.
Back with us?
Yeah, it says strong, so I don't know what happened there. What I'll say is the Ravens offense has been struggling with Jackson, who's one of the most explosive players in the NFL. And now you put Hundley in, you can't expect it to turn around. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring, tight game that Pittsburgh wins.
Nope. All right, next up on the list, we have Jared. What else does Jared have in here? He has the Eagles and the Giants. He's going to take the Eagles for 5 units, minus 300. So if you just do the math on this, it's 1/3 of 500. So it's like $158 or something like that.
166.67 is what he would be winning. Risking 500 to win 166.67. I feel like this is some kind of don't do kind of bet.
That's a rule, Sean.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, to me, it's not worth the risk-reward ratio in there at all.
And he's going against
his team to do it. If you miss this game, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And even if you hit it, where are you? You would have been better. He would have been better off putting 3 units on the Eagles in the line.
Yeah, or just 1 unit.
Or even 2 units.
Yeah,
2
whatever.
units on the Eagles with the minus the points. He'd be risking less with the same return.
Yeah, he's just on this kick against his own team here. He knows his own team's not that good, and he's trying to make money against them. But he obviously wasn't confident enough to give up the touchdown. But, yeah, you can't. We don't recommend this bet.
Like I said, he's on tilt. Yes, I would rather lay the points with the Eagles with 2 units because you're risking 2 to make the same amount. And I know that they're laying the points and all, but if 80% of the time the team that wins covers. So if you think the Eagles are going to win, 80% chance they're going to cover, but you're risking 40% of the money. So I think if you did the kind of math there, it would work out that playing against the line instead of playing the money line would be the smarter bet.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Next up, I told you he's on tilt, my man. I don't know if the NyQuil medicine has got him thinking straight. He's had another night of bourbon. I'm not sure. Maybe he mixed the bourbon and the NyQuil. He's going to go with the Panthers on the road against Seattle. 5 units on the Panthers. And this is almost like the opposite to me. They're only plus 170. I would think you would get like plus 300.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm surprised by this line, but I mean, Seattle's a little banged up. They're starting to come back to reality, but they're only favored by like 3.5, 4 points. But I just have a hard time seeing. And the Panthers, I think I just saw on.
Well, they're coming off a bye, so I think that's
FanDuel TV. I just saw that Panthers are 4-1 in their last 5 too against the spread, so they're covering spreads. I just have a hard time seeing them go into Seattle and win. Maybe they cover the spread, maybe they lose by a field goal, but I have a hard time seeing them go into Seattle and win.
That's your reversion to the mean, right?
Yeah.
There's a team that stinks that's 4-1 against the spread. They're due. I know it's gambler's fallacy, but they're due to get smoked.
Denver's been due to go over every week too, and they still don't. So, some of these they just keep repeating.
Yeah, I don't see I don't see the Panthers winning. They might cover the line.
That's what I'm. Yeah,
I don't see them outright winning this game in Seattle. Maybe they'll keep it close. And for me to go on the road, a subpar team against a team that's competing for a playoff spot, I think the team that's competing for a playoff spot is going to be a little bit hungrier, especially at home. I think they have the advantage. I would have probably taken the Panthers in the points if I were going to play that spot and not take 5 units.
Don't that even surprise you that Seattle's only favored by 4?
Yeah, not really, because like you said, they're banged up. The running back situation, they have no idea who's going to play running back on Sunday at all because DJ Dallas is injured, Walker is injured, so that leaves Homer and somebody that they're probably going to take them off the bench. Did they just sign somebody? I forget who they just signed, but they just signed somebody too. So I think the person that they signed is likely to be the starting running back if those guys can't go. So the backfield is a mess. DK Metcalf was listed as probable, but they said he's going to play with a hip injury. So the wide receivers are still there. 2 touchdowns in the last 5 games, per game. So I think the passing game still goes well. And I don't care who's running the ball against the Panthers. The Panthers are susceptible to the run. So I really don't see the Seahawks offense struggling just because the top tier running back is not in the game. Maybe 90% of what they would normally be. And I think a 90% Seahawks team is good enough to beat 100% Panthers team right now.
Yeah, that's what I think. And Darnold's getting a second week. You don't want Darnold throwing it all over. He'll show why he was on the bench again. So, I just
there's another one. What's the over/under on him throwing an interception?
I just couldn't. I looked at it. Went, this line's off, and you know how usually when I go this line's off, I want to jump on a team like Seattle. I just because of the injuries, and I know Seattle's starting to regress a little bit. I left it go. Let me see if I can find interceptions. Interception. Sam Darnold minus 135 to throw 1.
Yeah, well, they're telling you he's going to throw 1. What is 2?
Well, that's a whole different. I don't even know if that will be listed yet.
All right. So Vikings and Lions. Sean can't let a bunch of other games go by, so he's on the Lions minus 1.5. One team has got 2 losses on the year, 3 losses on the year.
2.
If the other team finds way to lose all the time. They just beat the Jaguars. Okay, yeah, they did put a beating on the Jaguars, but I think you really think they're going to beat Minnesota at home?
I do. This team. So the Lions had that stretch where they lost. They lost to the Eagles by 3 on the opener. They lost a couple other tough games at home against good teams. Then they had that stretch with about 3-4 weeks. They weren't healthy at all. They got blown out a couple times. When this team's healthy like they are right now, they put up a lot of points. They play really good at home. The Vikings are a very good team. But they're probably not a 10-2 team, and every week they keep proving other people, they prove people wrong because they keep beating people. But I think this is the week. I mean, the Lions are healthy. They're at home. I think the Lions take it to the Vikings this week. And I will say, how you always say about the sucker bets and the lines, there's been a lot of talk about the Lions being the favorite here. Well, it's a good sign for my side of it that doesn't quite make sense to a lot of people because usually when it doesn't make sense, it makes sense somewhere. So I'll take it.
It's a sucker's bet, probably, but I think the Vikings are the better team. The record says they're the better team. They have the best player on the field, unquestionably, in Justin Jefferson. I think this game's going to be a track meet. I think track meets favor the Vikings in this spot, because anytime the Detroit gets into these track meets where both teams are scoring points, they've seemed to end up on the bad end of that. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Vikings. I think I'll get one of these home between the Vikings and the Ravens as a winner. And if I do, it's a little bit profitable for me. I think actually I'm going to get them both home, to be honest with you, because I think both the records say both are the better teams. And again, I feel like the best player on the field is Justin Jefferson, going to have a huge, huge day. The running back, Dalvin Cook, pretty solid stuff there too. And we'll see what happens. I think a high-scoring game, won by a field goal at the end, and I see the kicker, Joseph, making that field goal.
Earlier this year, week 3, it was 28-24 Minnesota in Minnesota. So it was a high-scoring game then, too. I think that's what probably the over-under is about. It was 50-something?
Yeah, 52-ish or something like that. It's
too high. So
I think they're going to go over that. So I have my sheet over here. So let's see, Minnesota versus the 51.5. I have them scoring 57. That's not enough for me. I need at least a 7-point differential for me to hop on that as a play. So that's my little rule, my little cheat that I use. And that's just from all these years of using these sheets, knowing where the cutoff point is, where it turns in from break even to profitable.
That's the other thing with the Vikings is their defense is just giving up too many points. I mean, again, Mike White kind
of. It's not like Detroit's not letting up points,
but they are. But I'm saying 10-2 team. That's why the Lions are 5-7 with injuries in their defense. The Vikings, that it's 10-2 teams, that defense is going to get them in trouble.
Yeah, maybe we'll see what happens in that game. I still, once again, the Vikings are the better team according to the record. Vikings have the best player on the field. Vikings are going to have a lot of motivation to stay where they are, so they can perhaps get the number 1 seed in the NFC. Okay, I don't know who left, me or Sean, because my internet kind of went funky, and then Sean disappeared. So, all right, so the next game up on the board, at least for me, is the Browns and the Bengals. I know Sean has a spot in there too if he returns. Find out in a moment. But for me, I think that game goes over. I have both teams scoring aggressively, but the number has to be 46 for me. Some books have it 46.5, but I think Win and a couple of others have it at 46. So I'm going to go over Browns and the Bengals. I'm expecting a high-scoring game here, and hopefully we'll see this game go over before much too long after halftime. So I'm just saying that I like the over in the Browns and the Bengals.
Okay, what's that line at?
46.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'd be concerned about there is the way Watson played last week. If it wasn't for those turnovers and stuff, they did not do anything offensively. But obviously he was going to be rusty, so hopefully second week back he'll put up some points.
He better, because right about now, after Mayfield Monday or Mayfield Thursday, that's going to be like a spot. I think there'll be some additional pressure on Deshaun after that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because that's essentially who he got traded for, right?
Yeah, basically. I mean, just replaced by. So, yeah, it's going to always be. If they go two opposite directions, that'd be crazy, because Mayfield, they didn't really get much for,
Mm-hmm. So you like the Bengals to cover the 5 here for only 1 unit, though, for minus 110. You're obviously banking on Deshaun having another terrible Sunday.
Also, the Bengals are just in rhythm right now. They are starting to looking like that Super Bowl team last year. So I like how their offense is doing. Cleveland's offense is not with Watson, even with Brissett.
Well, they would score with Brissett.
They would score all right, but they weren't keeping up with teams like the Bengals. I actually think the Browns have been overrated week in and week out, even though they keep losing. Mm-hmm. It's kind of amazing to me. So I'm surprised the line's not a touchdown or more. So given up 5, they're going to win this game by at least a touchdown.
Well, you need them to do that for sure. This one, I don't know, Sean. The Buccaneers plus 3.5 against San Francisco. I know that they're going to probably go with Brock Purdy as the quarterback, but a lot of the veterans had a lot of good things to say about him in the post-game interviews and stuff like that. That he's a leader, didn't take any crap, told the veterans to shut up and get in line, quit goofing around, let's go. So Mr. Irrelevant could prove to be a big asset coming down the stretch.
So this is strictly the fact that Brady is 6-0 against quarterbacks making their first start. He doesn't lose these kind of games. So if I was ultra confident when I go, well, I'm going off that stat, I really should take the Bucs morning line. But the fact that you get that hook, I'll take it that maybe that streak comes to an end and they lose by a field goal. Because let's face it, 49ers are the way better team this year than the Bucs. I don't really have a lot of faith in the Bucs. I've said before that sometimes the best bets are the ones that don't always make the most sense, but I'm going to back that 6-0 first-time starter. Plus, there's a little film on Purdy now. Not much. You just have that little bit, but there's a little bit of film. I'm sure Todd Bowles and the Bucs will dive into that, and he ain't going to move the ball up and down like he did against Miami.
Well, I think that they got a lot of defensive points in that game that helped them score. And the game before that, they really struggled to score, the 49ers, when they played against the Saints. Certainly the Buccaneers are going to be coming off a huge high, going 58 minutes and looking just about as dull as can be, and then coming to life in the last 2 minutes to somehow pull that out of their rear ends. But they did. So I think you got a lot of momentum there. I just think this is a slugfest to me, Shawn. One of those games that's just going to go back and forth and not a lot of points. It's going to be ugly and bruising and like 1970s football.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. I almost wanted to break the rule with this one too, and I almost wanted to bet the under as well, but I didn't.
Yeah, I don't think you can touch that. Was it 36.5 or something like something?
Yeah,
ridiculous?
it's pretty low. Where the heck is it?
Let's see over here. I'll show you. I have it on the sheet over here. That game, the total is
37?
37.5. Yeah, I do have them coming in only at 34 points combined. But I have the 49ers winning that game and covering. So I don't know what that exactly means.
Most of Tampa Bay's games this year have been that. They're just struggling offensively. They score enough, but their defense has kept them in all the games. So a lot of them have been those games that finish
just down to the wire. Whoever can score last wins. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you haven't given up on the Titans, huh?
No, this is one that doesn't make sense to me. So we're saying with this line, 3.5, we're saying in this line, it's basically that the Titans and Jaguars meet on a neutral field. They're the same team, and they are not. The Titans are clearly the better team. The Jaguars are another team, and I've been cashing in against the Jaguars. They're another team that seems to be overrated week in and week out after they put up a couple good games. They're not that good of a team. So the Titans, I think the Titans are hurt here with the line. Actually, to whoever wants to take the Titans like me, benefit that the Eagles just destroyed the Titans. But, I mean, the Titans aren't as good as the Eagles. That's fine. I thought they would have competed a little bit better. But now they get home. They play a team like the Jaguars. And another game, I think they could crush the Jaguars here. You'd probably take an alternate line, give up 9.5.
I don't know that they can crush anybody. I don't know that they can crush anybody, Shawn.
Yeah,
they don't seem to be. They don't seem to be offensively efficient enough to crush anybody.
Usually not, but they are that. Much
when they're at their best is when they're running the ball and dominating the clock, and when they're doing that, the scores don't usually get too out of hand.
Don't you think? Does this line make sense to you?
I think it's about right, to be honest with you. I think the Jaguars are slightly better than average, and I think the Titans are slightly better than average. And the Jaguars are slightly under average. So put them together, it's about 3.5, 4 points.
It's funny to me that I feel like the memory of the Titans getting destroyed by the Eagles are playing effect here, but I guess the Lions destroying the Jaguars aren't really in their mind because they're willing to do this. This is another one I'm pretty confident on that. 2 units right now for me is pretty confident because usually when I go more than one, I've been losing. Last week I saw them with the 2 units. This one's feeling like that one, so I think this one should be an easy cover.
Uh-oh. All right, let's see. For the Jaguars, I got the Jaguars covering this game, Shawn, at 3.5. And I know the models that I use are pretty similar to the ones that they use in Vegas. At least I got it from a gentleman who used to make some lines at a sports book. And that's how I crafted that's how I craft my lines to go ahead and figure which ones are mispriced and then go ahead and make those plays. So that covers all of our picks, I think, for this week, Shawn, every single one of them. For some horse racing picks, if you haven't done it yet, Thomas and I got together today for Shot 10 in Hong Kong for some Saturday night to Sunday morning all-night racing. I think the card starts like around 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern time and ends at about 5 a.m. A lot of really good races in Hong Kong. It's one of the few weekends where they let outside horses in. On Saturday at 12 o'clock, myself and Terry will get together for Louisiana Championships Day. So those will be our horse racing picks for tomorrow. And then, of course, on Monday and Tuesday, back at it with Parks. And then Wednesday, we'll do Tampa Bay Downs. Maybe Gulfstream we're going to switch to this Wednesday. And then Thursday, do Aqueduct. And then you have well, next week should be an exciting week because Julie joins you to make her hosting debut. And who are you going to be your guests?
So Monday, we will have trainer Aaron McGlellan on. Tuesday, trainer Alexis Clare. And then Wednesday, we have 2 Outriders, brothers, Willie and Kobe Laverne. So that'll be a first that we have Outriders on. So we'll learn a different dimension of the game and what goes on out on the track.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Julie. Got together today with her to walk her through how to use all the back stuff, Shawn. So everyone be a little bit patient in the beginning. A couple buttons might be pressed incorrectly, but she'll get it like that, I'm sure. Because whenever you learn anything new, you're a little bit kind of unsure and anxious at times. So I'm sure she'll do an excellent job. She certainly seems to have a very lively personality. So that should be a enjoyable guest host for you, a co-host with you, Shawn.
Yeah, and you are 100% success rate on teaching people. I mean, everybody's learned whatever you taught them, so we'll keep that 100%.
100%. So we'll keep it at 100%, Shawn. Well, hopefully we're 100% on our picks. Well, we can't be because you and I are on the opposite side of a couple of things, Shawn. So we'll see how they play out. And there's a link in the description down below for all of our picks, all of our past picks, history, everything that we've done, because we're transparent as hell around here. And of course, Shawn, if you have any questions, comments, go ahead and hit us up on our social sites, TikTok now, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Horse Race, the number 2 day, Horse Race 2 day. And while you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, so when we go live, no matter what that content is, you are notified. Any final thoughts, Shawn, before we
you can get any HRT gear. I got the hat here, you got the shirt, and then you got the football one. I got the football shirt here. So
looking good. Never seen you look getting better, Shawn. Look, he strikes a pose as he freezes.
Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah, internet. What are you going to do? Technology, can't live with it, can't live without it. All right, that wraps it up for this week, Shawn. Got any more thoughts before we roll?
No, I wish I had to play in the Army-Navy game tomorrow, but I really don't. That's one you want to back the under. The under always covers, but it's at like 32 or 33, so maybe this is the year it's different. But usually those triple option teams, it's 10-7, 14-10. The game goes pretty quick. But 33, I couldn't take a gamble on that.
The internet, our friends. I'm going to say the best way to find out what to do at the Army-Navy game is to go ahead and check out Professor Sides with the picks with the professor. There is a link for that down there below. Also, next Friday, all the bowl games start. He does college basketball as well. You're going to want to make sure for bowl season you follow what the professor does. At least live out, because he is an actual statistics professor. So he knows his stuff. In any case, Shawn, that takes us to the red zone, I guess, the goal line, whatever it is, whatever you're doing, football, college football, basketball, NBA, kind of just hanging out this weekend, no matter what you're doing. We hope it is. See you at the bookie's house. Yes, indeed. We're going to see you. Where are we going to see you, Shawn?
In the end zone.
In the end zone, spiking that ball, baby. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend.
Boys.